If you're into technology and you spend a lot of time on social media, you've probably come across comments like these. iPhones are hella overpriced. You gotta be a clown to spend $1,000 on a phone. The only reason people buy iPhones is because of the Apple logo. Phones that cost less than half the price of the iPhone have high refresh rate displays and 108 megapixel camera sensors. Why would anyone spend so much money on an iPhone? Now, don't get me wrong, because all of those points are extremely valid. In fact, I spent $600 of my own money on a OnePlus 7 just to experience Android and to really see if I was overpaying for my iPhone 12 Pro, because apparently I was. People are saying that Android phones nowadays are better than the iPhone and that Apple's just ripping you off completely. For example, this OnePlus 7T from 2019 has a 90Hz AMOLED display with a hole punch camera, whereas this $1,000 iPhone 12 Pro from 2020 has a 60Hz display with a notch. Also, I'm going to be making a video on the OnePlus 7T and its position in the smartphone market in 2021 as a really great mid-range option, so make sure to subscribe so don't miss out on that video. At this point, it seems like the iPhone's losing out in terms of value even compared to like older Android flagships, so it seems like Apple's got a bit of an issue in terms of value with their pricing strategy for the iPhone. However, it isn't 2019 anymore and the iPhone is a 2020 flagship, so maybe the comparison is a bit unfair. But what if I told you that there exists a phone that was released in 2021 that costs $260 but can compete almost spec to spec with the iPhone and in many ways completely decimates the iPhone 12 Pro at its own game? The Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 Pro is a $260 smartphone that really gives the iPhone 12 Pro a run for its money. The fact that the Redmi Note 10 Pro has a 120Hz AMOLED Full HD plus HDR10 display with a hole punch cutout puts to shame the iPhone 12 Pro with its 60Hz display and the massive notch. Like seriously though, this display is basically the same as the one you get with the Samsung Galaxy S21, which costs like 3 or 4 times as much. Furthermore, the Note 10 Pro is available with up to 8GB of RAM, a 5000 mAh battery, and in terms of build quality, it has glass on the front, glass on the back, and it has a 108 megapixel main camera with like a whole bunch of other sensors. And yeah, this is all for $260, and for a spec list that is that jam-packed, that is an insane price point. Like seriously, this is a true flagship killer. Now of course there are some sacrifices that need to be made so that the phone can actually hit that ultra low price range. For example, it's running a Snapdragon 732G instead of like, you know, a 888 like you have in the flagships, and there's also no 5G connectivity, but like you can't really argue for $260. Like that is an insanely low price point. To put things in perspective, that phone costs less than it does to replace the back of the iPhone 12 Pro. Like you can get a whole phone for the price of the back of this one. Like that is just absolutely ridiculous. And yet people are still content with paying thousands of dollars for iPhones or even Android flagships when good value is just right around the corner. So why are people buying these phones? However, now it's time for me to flip the script, because yes, iPhones are definitely expensive. They're among the most expensive smartphones you can buy, period. But saying that they're not worth the money and that they're bad value is disingenuous to say the least. Here's the thing, many people just completely fail to understand that the whole concept of value is in the eyes of the beholder. If someone goes out of their way to buy a particular product, whatever it may cost, in this case being the iPhone 12 Pro, and they buy it, they're happy with it, they're completely satisfied, and it completely fits all of their needs and preferences, that means that they got value out of the product. Another very important concept when it comes to calculating value is the dichotomy of tangibles versus intangibles. If something's described as tangible, it means that you can touch it, it's tactile, it's a physical manifestation, kind of like the actual hardware that goes into the phone. For example, the hardware in the iPhone 12 Pro costs $400 to make in terms of parts and manufacturing. That is tangible value, something you can actually see, feel, touch, and physically manifest. However, if something's described as intangible, you guessed it, it's the complete opposite of tangible. It's not something you feel here, it's something you feel here. Alright, maybe that's a bit too poetic, but basically you can't touch something that's intangible. It's something that's to do with the actual experience of the product, the emotions, the feeling you get when you use the product, kind of like your satisfaction. That's intangible, and it's a lot harder to put a price on that than it is on material goods, like the hardware in a device. In fact, software is probably the best manifestation there is of an intangible aspect to a phone experience, because unlike the hardware, you can't put a definite price on software, because software is based on preference, and preference is by nature intangible. Let me put it this way, if you like Android but you hate iOS to the core, you're not going to be okay with spending more for an iPhone because you don't like the iPhone for its OS, even though it may have better features like a better camera or a better screen. However, if you love iOS but completely despise Android, you're never ever going to buy an Android despite the fact that it might be cheaper with better hardware, because what you value is the software experience of iOS, something that Android might not necessarily be able to give you. Hopefully you're catching my drift, because what sells phones are the intangibles more than the tangibles, and the intangibles have much more subjectivity when it comes to value than stuff that you can physically feel and touch, like the hardware component cost of a phone. Let me put this into simpler terms, because the intangibles are kind of like the whole aspect of the experience. You can't physically touch the experience, and you can't really put a dollar value on the experience, because experience is subjective, and therefore the value you're willing to pay for the experience is also subjective, and therefore value is subjective. If someone was to say that the iPhone 12 Pro isn't worth it to them, that's completely fine, because to them, they're not okay with spending a lot of money on this phone for this experience because they don't value that experience. However, if someone was to say that the iPhone 12 Pro is bad value overall, period, full stop, they're completely wrong. Because what they're doing is they're applying their judgments on value based on their own experiences to the experiences of others. And it doesn't work like that, because everyone has different experiences, different preferences, and therefore different conditions of value. So yeah, value is subjective, it doesn't apply to everyone in the exact same way. However, don't get me wrong, because talking about the merits and downfalls of a product in, for example, a product review isn't someone forcing their judgment of value onto you. It's them sharing their judgment of their value and seeing if it aligns with yours, because if it does, you agree with them, and if it doesn't, you don't. That's a completely different thing, because everyone's entitled to their own opinions. For some people, an iPhone provides the best value proposition. However, to others, it may not. To them, it may be an Android phone that's a bit cheaper, that has fewer bells and whistles, but gets the job done. At the end of the day, value is determined by nobody but you. And that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching until the very end. And yeah, I tried something a bit new with this video, something a bit more explanatory. I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I certainly enjoyed making it, and I really enjoy these kind of discussion style videos. So let me know what you'd like me to make in the future. And yeah, my name's Ramal. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.